session would emphasize upon the major global environmental issues. The session discusses the issues and responses at the national and international level. The major issues discussed are pollution of air, water and land, hazardous chemicals and wastes, land degradation, loss of biodiversity, ozone depletion, loss of natural and cultural resources. Pollutants released in the environment are distributed among the many environmental media such as air, water, soil and vegetation as the result of complex physical, chemical and biological processes. The possible environmental impact associated with chemical pollutants is related to their concentration levels and persistence in the various environmental compartments. Therefore, information regarding the migration of pollutants across environmental phase boundaries, example, air, water, soil, water, and their accumulation in the environment is essential if we are to assess the potential environmental impact and associated risks. In recent years, it has become apparent that environmental pollution is a multimedia problem. The session discusses all the three media, that is air, land and water. The emissions of any impurity into the air such as smoke including tobacco smoke, dust, cinders, solid particles, gases, mists, fumes, odors and radioactive substances. The other media being water. Water pollution occurs when harmful substances, often chemicals or microorganisms, contaminate a stream, river, lake, ocean, aquifer or other body of water, degrading water quality and rendering it toxic to the humans or the environment. When the rain falls and seeps deep into the earth, filling the cracks, crevices and porous spaces of an aquifer, it becomes groundwater. The groundwater source is one of the least visible but the most important natural resource. The different types of water pollution which are discussed are groundwater, surface water and marine pollution. Groundwater gets polluted when contaminants from pesticides and fertilizers to the waste leached from landfills and septic systems make their way into an aquifer, rendering it unsafe for human use. Surface water covers about 70% of the earth. Surface water is what fills our oceans, lakes and rivers. According to the most recent surveys on national water quality from the US Environmental Protection Agency, nearly half of our rivers and streams and more than 1/3 of our lakes are polluted and unfit for swimming, fishing and drinking. Marine pollution originates on land, whether along the coast or far inland. Contaminants such as chemicals, nutrients and heavy metals are carried from farms, factories and cities by streams and rivers into our bays and estuaries, from where they travel out to the sea. Meanwhile, marine debris, particularly plastic, is blown in by the wind or washed in via storm drains and sewers. Our seas are also sometimes spoiled by oil spills and leaks big and small and are consistently soaking up carbon pollution from the air. The ocean absorbs as much as a quarter of man-made carbon emissions. Land pollution refers to the deterioration of the Earth's land surfaces. Furthermore, it occurs mainly due to the indirect and direct effects of human activities. Similarly, when the land resources are misused, land pollution happens. It is a global issue that needs to be fixed immediately. The unnecessary material contaminate the quality of our land. For instance, even the garbage on the streets is a kind of land pollution. Session further discusses the hazardous waste that may contain toxic substances generated from industrial, hospital and some types of household waste. These wastes could be corrosive, inflammable, explosive, or react when exposed to other material. Some hazardous wastes are highly toxic to environment, including humans, animals, and plants. Hazardous waste has enormous impacts on the environment. Air, soil, water, and wildlife health are all affected by the amount of hazardous waste generated every day by businesses and industries. Regulations exist to help us dispose of it properly, but contamination still occurs all the time. The major causes of hazardous waste generation are then discussed in details. Some of the causes range from production use and disposal of chemicals, including pesticides, generation and disposal of the hazardous waste, irresponsible international trade, chemicals and waste production, and the use of persistent organic pollutants. The national and international measures taken to control the hazardous waste are effective implementation of national policies and legislation, effective management of production, transport, storage and use of chemicals, effective disposal of hazardous waste, phasing out production and use of persistent organic pollutants and development of alternative feedstocks and disposal options. The international action to control hazardous waste ranges from Basel Convention on the Control of Transboundary Movement of Hazardous Waste and Their Disposal, Rotterdam Convention of UNEP and FAO, Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants and Transfer of Technology. Next in the session is the discussion of land degradation. Land is a vital resource to humankind, like air and water. Land degradation is the deterioration or loss of the productive capacity of the soils for present and future. It is a global challenge that affects everyone through food insecurity, higher food prices, climate change, environmental hazards, and loss of biodiversity and ecosystem services. Land degradation is happening at an alarming pace, contributing to a dramatic decline in the productivity of croplands and rangelands worldwide. Lower soil productivity, forced migration, poverty, drought, disruption of water cycle, poor water retention, lack of food security are the major concerns of land degradation. The session further dwells upon the major causes such as overcropping, overgrazing, land conversion, deforestation, soil pollution. The international efforts to combat the same are also discussed. The session then furthers to the loss of biodiversity. It is the variety of life on earth in all its forms and all its interactions. If that sounds bewildering broad, that's because it is. Biodiversity is the most complex feature of our planet and it is the most vital. Without biodiversity, there is no future for humanity. Major causes of biodiversity are habitat loss, fragmentation, overexploitation for commercialization, invasive species, pollution, global climate change, population growth and overconsumption, besides illegal wildlife trade and species extinction. The session furthers to air pollution. Ozone depletion occurs when chlorofluorocarbons and halon gases formerly found in aerosol spray, cans and refrigerants are released into the atmosphere. Ozone sits in the upper atmosphere and absorbs ultraviolet radiation. CFCs and halons cause chemical reactions that break down the ozone molecule, reducing the ozone's ultraviolet radiation absorbing capacity. Ozone depletion is a major environmental problem because it increases the amount of the UV radiation that reaches the Earth's surface, which increases the rate of skin cancer, eye cataracts, genetic and immune system damage. The ozone layer depletion is a major concern and is associated with a number of factors. The main causes responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer are the chlorofluorocarbons released by soaps, solvents, spray aerosols, refrigerators, air conditioners and the like. Depletion is also due to unregulated rocket launches. Researchers say that unregulated launching of rockets result in much more depletion of ozone layer than the CFCs do. The nitrogenous compounds are also highly responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer. Besides these, there are several natural causes too. The ozone layer has been found to be depleted by certain natural processes such as sunspots and stratospheric winds. But it does not cause more than 1 to 2% of the ozone layer depletion. The volcanic eruptions are also responsible for the depletion of the ozone layer. The depletion of ozone layer is a serious issue and various programs have been launched by the government of various countries to prevent it. But steps should be taken at individual level as well to prevent the depletion of the same, such as avoid using pesticides. Natural methods should be implemented to get rid of pests and weeds instead of using chemicals. Minimize the use of vehicles as they emit a large amount of greenhouse gases that lead to a global warming as well as ozone depletion. Eco-friendly cleaning products should be used as most of the cleaning products have chlorine and bromine releasing chemicals that find the way into the atmosphere and affect the ozone layer. The use of nitrous oxide should be prohibited. The government should take actions and prohibit the use of harmful nitrous oxide and is adversely affecting the ozone layer. The session further discusses the overall strategies to combat various types of pollution that range from development and effective implementation of legislation, impact analysis at national, regional and global levels, remediation at the national level, linkages to poverty, international financial and technical support. It is high time that we give a due diligence to the global environmental issues as it is already too late.